He survived something most people never talk about. Now he's 17, at an all-boys school, and completely unprepared for the girl who just walked up and said she's in love with him. This is the story of a boy trying to be normal, and everything that gets in the way.
Two boys stand frozen in a hallway, faces pale under cold lighting. Between them, a single word floats in the silence. A name, barely a whisper. Cade. Down on the floor ahead of them, a school bag is crumpled against the wall, shoes kicked off to the side, and the shape of someone who has completely fallen apart. Whatever happened in this room, it happened fast, and neither of them knows yet if it can be undone. The story doesn't start there. It starts somewhere quieter. A boy standing alone outside a school building staring at nothing. Someone who knew him from before is narrating in their head. He transferred to an all-boys high school, they said. Must have been a relief. And the way they say it tells you everything. That something happened before. Something that made a school full of boys feel safer than anywhere else. Seto Kaide, 17 years old, already knows more about surviving than most people his age. He stands there with that knowledge settled into his expression. Not dramatic, not broken, just quietly carrying it. He tells himself what he always tells himself. The normal thing would be to heal after a few years and move on, like nothing happened. People do it. That's what people do. The whole world functions on the assumption that time fixes things, that scars close on their own, that eventually you just become someone who used to have a problem. He's been waiting for that to kick in, still waiting. He picks up something from the convenience store, a drink. Coins exchanged with a female cashier, completely unremarkable, and he notices that it's unremarkable. That's the thing. When he's not caught off guard, when contact is expected and professional and brief, he's fine. He walks out of the store into the afternoon light and files that away like evidence. He's okay with store clerks. He's okay in crowds. He's been telling himself everything is fine for 3 years now, and he almost believes it most of the time. Then, out of nowhere, the universe hands him an anomaly. Seto Kaide. All-boys school, zero female interaction, never gotten a message from a girl in his life, gets a direct message from a complete stranger. A girl. He doesn't walk into class, he explodes into it. He shoves his phone into the face of his two best friends, Izumi and Asahi, with the energy of someone whose entire worldview just shifted on its axis. For the first time in his life, he announces breathlessly, a girl he doesn't even know sent him a message. Asahi and Izumi stare at the phone, then at each other, then back at Kaide. Asahi is the first to speak. It could be a man. Izumi adds with quiet authority. It could be a scammer. Kaide looks genuinely hurt. He tilts the screen back and points at the profile picture. She's cute, look, obviously a real girl. Both of them remain unmoved. The picture, Izumi explains flatly, was almost certainly lifted from somewhere on the internet. Kaide lets out a sound like a deflating balloon. Asahi takes the phone and scrolls the messages with the expression of someone reading a ransom note. He lists the warning signs one by one. Izumi stands behind him, nodding slightly. Kaide protests at every single point because he doesn't want it to be a scam, because deep down, what he actually wants is a girlfriend. Someone real, someone to fall in love with like a normal person. He says that out loud, and the room goes a little softer around it. Even Asahi and Izumi don't have anything to say back to that. The three of them end up walking together after school, the great DM debate still going. Kaide is muttering about how he was so excited, thinking this was just how people met each other these days. And then in mid-sentence he walks directly into someone, a girl from another school, bag straps tangling with his, and when they both stumble back, a small pendant on her bag breaks clean off. It hits the ground between them. She stares at it. He stares at her. The whole universe holds its breath. She is immediately, deeply apologetic. He is immediately, desperately trying to wave it off. She insists she'll pay for it. She'll replace it. She's so sorry. He says over and over that it's just an ornament. It doesn't matter. Please don't worry. But you can see in his face that something is happening to him beyond just the pendant situation. He is standing very close to a girl he has never met. She is looking directly at him, and every social instinct he was never allowed to develop is misfiring at once. He somehow manages to say goodbye and escape. He gets back to his friends, and they absolutely will not let this go. Asahi is almost crying with laughter. Izumi watches Kaede with a calm expression that somehow says both, "You are hopeless," and "I understand exactly why." Kaede insists he held it together. He did not hold it together. He came from an all-boys middle school, then an all-boys high school, and a brief sidewalk collision with a stranger just broke him completely. The irony is not lost on any of them. The next day after school, there is a commotion at the school gate. A girl is standing there, just standing there, at a boys-only school, waiting for someone. and the entire hallway buzzes with low-grade chaos. Boys peer out windows. Someone announces she is pretty. Someone else says they want to switch schools. Cade and his friends come around the corner, and Cade's brain processes the face before his mouth can form words. It's the girl from yesterday, the pendant girl. She tracked him down by his uniform and came all the way here to apologize properly. She spots him, and her whole face lights up with relief. She pulls him quickly away from the staring crowd, drawing even more attention in the process, obviously, and takes them around the side of the building. She apologizes again about the pendant, properly this time, face to face. But that isn't actually the main thing she came to say. She looks at him with this kind of steady, gentle resolve, and tells him she wants to be honest. She thought being this direct might drive him away. She came anyway.
She fell in love with him at first sight. Cade short circuits. She says it so cleanly, so without drama, that it almost doesn't register at first. And then it does, all at once. She adds quickly that she's not asking for an answer right now. She just wants to get to know him, and if after spending more time together he decides he's not interested, she will walk away with no hard feelings. She has clearly thought all of this through. She is more prepared for this conversation than Cade has ever been for anything in his entire life.
He gets out something that is technically a thank you. Shaky, syllables in roughly the right order. His brain is running the math in the background. She is pretty. She was kind about the pendant. She came to his school to find him, and she just told him she likes him. Meanwhile, Asahi and Izumi have been watching from around the corner this entire time, and are absolutely certain this was a confession. 80% probability, Izumi announces. Asahi already has stars in his eyes on Kaeda's behalf.
She introduces herself before leaving. Arisaka Tsubasa, second year. She smiles and says she hopes he'll reach out to her, excuses herself because she'll miss the bus, and disappears around the corner. Asahi and Izumi materialize from behind the wall approximately 2 seconds later. Kaede stands there holding her contact information like it's something fragile. He notes internally, with the specific clarity of someone who has been starved of this experience, that she was a very pretty girl.
Asahi launches into immediate analysis. Izumi takes the more measured route, but arrives at the same conclusion. Kaede is overwhelmed and slightly embarrassed and deeply flustered, and somewhere underneath all of that, underneath the boys' school awkwardness and the stumbling exit, something warmer is happening. He wanted normal, he wanted a chance, and a girl just walked up to his school and handed him one. He just has to actually do something about it. The next morning, Kaede still hasn't messaged her. He's added the number, he's stared at it, he's typed things and deleted them. His friends see it on his face immediately when he comes in, and they have very little patience for his hesitation. Asahi asks if he called her. Izumi asks if he at least texted. Kaede opens his mouth and they already know the answer. The whole morning passes in gentle bullying and eventual moral support until Kaede works up the nerve to send the message. Her response comes back fast. She's happy, she wants to meet up.
They arrange to meet after school the next day. Kaede spends the intervening time running through everything Miyamoto-sensei, the school nurse who knows his history from enrollment, would want him to keep in mind. Avoid sudden contact. Stay calm. Don't pretend to be something he isn't. He can tell her he doesn't like being touched without warning. It doesn't make him strange. He repeats that to himself a few times in the mirror the morning of the meeting, like a rehearsal. It almost works!
The meetup happens near the school grounds, and it's going well. Genuinely, actually going well. Until it isn't. A familiar face drifts past in the background of the crowd, and Cade's stomach drops. Someone from middle school. A girl. His face changes completely. The feature that makes her familiar isn't her name or a happy memory. It's something older and heavier than that. It's the thread that runs back to the year he stopped attending school entirely. The year everything collapsed.
He breaks. Not dramatically. There's no shouting, no scene. He just quietly, suddenly needs to not be here anymore. He shoves money at Tsubasa, says he's leaving, and walks. She calls after him, but he's already moving. Her friends are confused. One of them, a girl named Aya, watches him go with a guarded expression, like she's already wondering if the rumor she half heard about him is more than a rumor. Tsubasa stands on the pavement watching him disappear, and she doesn't say anything to anyone about what just happened to his face. Asahi finds Kaede on a park bench, folded over with his head in his hands. He doesn't push, he just sits down. Izumi comes around the other side and does the same. Nobody says the right thing because there isn't a right thing. There's just the three of them sitting in the afternoon quiet, and Cade eventually lifting his head and saying he's sorry for worrying them again. But here is the important part. He also says he wants to keep going. He's not backing down. Not yet. His friends talk about it later without him. Izumi runs the math quietly. It's been 3 years. Kaede has been doing well. This is his first relapse since starting high school. It's a setback, but it's not the end.
The real question is what the middle school classmate Tsubasa's friend is, and what version of events she might have heard. Because rumors from back then were already warped by the time they were passing through the school halls. If Tsubasa got a distorted version and took it the wrong way, that could be a wall neither of them can see coming. Asahi goes straight for the emotional core of it. Kaede didn't do anything wrong. He never did. Izumi knows that. He says so plainly. But knowing it and being protected from how other people talk about it are two different problems, and both of them know it. The best they can do is stay close, stay watching, and make sure Kaede doesn't carry this alone. That's what they've always done. That's what friends who know the whole story do. Kaede ends up in Miyamoto-sensei's office the next day, spilling all of it. The message, the girl, the meeting, the face he recognized, the bolt that went through him. He tells the nurse he wants to keep going. He wants to meet Tsubasa again. He's not asking for permission exactly, but he's asking for something. Maybe just for someone older to tell him it's not completely reckless. The nurse listens without interrupting. He doesn't tell Cade to stop. He does tell him to be careful. The advice is practical and specific. Unexpected physical contact is the main trigger, so don't let it happen without warning. There's nothing wrong with telling someone you're not comfortable being grabbed or touched suddenly. And more importantly, the idea that boys are supposed to be fine with anything is not a rule, it's a myth. Cade sits with that. He's heard that logic before in his own head. The guys shouldn't be bothered by its script, and having someone calmly dismantle it in front of him means something. He asks if telling Tsubasa will make him seem self-conscious. The nurse looks at him. Doesn't that logic seem strange to you? He leaves the nurse's office with Asahi and Izumi practically bouncing with relief that their friend isn't shutting down. He types out a message to Tsubasa saying he'll meet her, and hits send before he can second-guess it. The nurse watches them go with quiet encouragement. Not everything can be fixed, but wanting to try is a good thing. That part, at least, is always worth something. The day of the meeting, Tsubasa is already there when Kaede arrives, holding 2 drinks she bought from a nearby cafe, both the same color, both the same size. She apologizes immediately and laughs. She didn't think about the fact that they'd be identical. Cade reaches for one. Their hands brush on the cup. He freezes internally for exactly 1 second, and then nothing. Fine. Still here. He breathes out. She doesn't notice. He thinks, I was okay at the convenience store too. I can do this. They find somewhere to sit. She admits her heart was racing all day. She was nervous, more nervous than she expected, and she's glad he's easy to talk to because she doesn't have much practice talking to guys. He confesses that he can hold eye contact for about 2 seconds before his brain goes offline. She laughs and says that means they're more alike than they thought. Something loosens between them after that. The stiffness of the first meeting starts to become something more like actual comfort. She pushes into territory that catches him off guard. She asks why he thinks she'd be a good match for him. He stumbles completely. He didn't expect to be asked questions back. He was too busy trying to survive the conversation going forward. She watches him fumble, and then gently fills in the reason herself. She tells him about the moment she first saw him, how he handled that situation outside so smoothly, like someone in control of themselves. He looked like a prince to her, she says. Kaede sits very still and thinks, but that is not me at all! The afternoon is interrupted before it can resolve. Tsubasa's friends show up. Momoka and Aya, loud and excited, and the table suddenly has twice as many people and 10 times the energy. Kaede is not built for this. He clamps up immediately, processing the situation from a distance. But it's the third girl, Aya, that stops him cold. There's something about her face, some specific quality in the way she looks at him, that reaches back into a part of him he keeps sealed shut. And then it hits him all at once. She's from middle school. He can't remember her name, and he can't place exactly how he knows her, but the association that comes with that face is not a good one. It runs directly into the worst year of his life. He doesn't spiral loudly. He just quietly, completely, needs to leave. He puts money on the table for the bill, mutters that he's going, and walks out without another word. Tsubasa stares at the space he was just in. She runs after him on the street outside. She calls his name. She asks if he's okay. He's walking fast and he doesn't explain anything. Because what would he say? How would he begin to say it? Behind her, Aya has gone still in the cafe booth. She's thinking about something, wondering if the rumor she half heard about a guy from their middle school has just walked back into her orbit, and whether any version of that story she knows is actually the true one. Back at school, Izumi is the first to name what everyone is thinking. The classmate, Tsubasa's friend Aya, likely has some version of events from middle school, and there's a strong chance she's already mentioned it to Tsubasa or will. Asahi waves his hand. Nobody who knows the real story said anything wrong. Izumi presses the point. It's not about what's right, it's about what Tsubasa might have heard. Rumors mutate, details get added or dropped. The story people told when Cade stopped coming to school for a year was never the actual story. Cade lies in his room that night, phone on his chest, staring at the ceiling. He wonders if she thinks he's broken. He wonders if she already knows some version of what happened and is doing the math on whether to pull back. He types out an apology and doesn't send it. He's still lying there when her message comes in first, asking if he's okay, wondering if her friend said something, careful and kind, and clearly trying to reach across the silence without making it worse. Then a moment later, without warning, she calls. He picks up in a mild panic. She's out walking, she says. She couldn't stop herself. She was worried. He's in his room, he says, voice doing its best impression of calm. She talks. He listens. She tells him she's only just met him. She doesn't expect him to explain everything right away. She just wants him to know that she noticed something was wrong and she doesn't want him to feel like he has to apologize for it. The care in it is so matter-of-fact, so undramatic, that it lands harder than something more elaborate would. He says, okay, just okay, nothing more. But the word carries weight. She says, talk to you later. He says, same here. And the call ends. He drops back into his pillow. The thing that usually chases him down when something goes sideways, the spiral, the shame, the shutdown, isn't here right now. What's here instead is something quieter and stranger. He actually wants to talk to her again. He comes in the next day with a different energy. His friends clock it immediately. Asahi teases him. Izumi watches him with something careful in his expression. New classmates, Sahara Yudai and Kobayashi Mitsuki, drift into the orbit of the conversation. And Mitsuki, self-described love expert, zero evidence supporting this claim, offers his services. Kaede, who has never had a chance to ask anyone this kind of thing before, floats a hypothetical that is transparently not a hypothetical at all. If someone was confessed to and started developing feelings, and both people were going slowly, what should they do? Mitsuki's answer is immediate and simple. They both like each other, right? Then there's only one answer. Ask her out. Izumi, quietly and without fanfare, agrees. Kaede turns that over. He's been so focused on surviving each interaction that he hasn't let himself think about the actual next step, the answer to her confession, the word he hasn't given yet. Maybe it's because saying yes feels like a promise he doesn't know yet if he can keep, but maybe not saying it is its own kind of failure. On Tsubasa's side of things, Momoka is fizzing with questions. Has he texted? Has he called? What did he say? What does she think? Is this going somewhere? Tsubasa takes it all in with more patience than most people would. Her other friend Aya is quieter. There's something she's been sitting with since the cafe, something about the rumor, something about the way Kaede left. She doesn't push it onto Tsubasa, but the question is still there on her face, and Tsubasa is perceptive enough to notice. Momoka's advice, delivered with complete confidence, is basically, if he doesn't bring it up next time you see him, ask him directly what he thinks of you. Tsubasa considers this. It's aggressive, but not wrong. She's the one who confessed first. She already showed her hand. Waiting forever for him to figure himself out isn't exactly sustainable either. The thought of asking him out loud, face to face, still makes her nervous. And then her phone buzzes. It's Seto-kun. He asks if she wants to meet up again. She says yes. They arrange it quickly, back and forth, neither of them making a big deal of it, even though it very clearly is. Momoka, who can read a text conversation from 6 feet away, squeals. Tsubasa tells her to calm down. She is not calm. In the background, Aya watches and doesn't say anything about what she's been turning over in her mind. Whatever she knows or doesn't know about Kaede, she's chosen, at least for now, to keep it to herself. They meet on a quiet path near the city, and Kaede opens with it, directly. A little awkwardly, but clearly. He tells her that sudden, unexpected physical contact makes him really uncomfortable. That hitting her hand away at the cafe wasn't because of her specifically. That he's sorry for it. He wants her to know. He doesn't explain why. He just names it. And Tsubasa listens to every word without flinching, without making it weird, without asking follow-up questions he isn't ready for. She just says, "Oh, okay, it's fine." She looks at him with wide, genuine eyes and tells him she's happy he said that. Happy he trusted her with it. She says it happens to guys too, apparently. She didn't know. She learned something today, and she doesn't want him to worry so much about it. There's a pause. Then she gets to the other thing, about the confession, her answer. Of course she would love to. Her friends' voices echo in her head as she says it. Will the next word he says be, "I'm sorry"? It is not. He says yes. Not eloquently, not with a speech. He just says yes, and the chapter title sits heavy over the page. Why does it feel so off? Because Kaede got exactly what he said he wanted. A normal romance, a girlfriend, a chance at a regular youth. And it feels slightly sideways. like a door that won't hang quite straight. He doesn't know why yet. He's too relieved and too shaken and too happy to examine it right now. He goes back to Asahi and Izumi and announces with both hands in the peace sign that he is now dating Arisaka Tsubasa-chan. Asahi stares at him. Izumi gives a quiet congratulations. Kaede beams. Behind that beam is something real. 3 years of waiting to feel like a normal person, and now, technically he is one. He's a guy with a girlfriend. He made it. He's not going to look too hard at the fact that Izumi's smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. Not right now. A week passes. They text every day, sometimes call at night. They meet after school twice, just briefly, just long enough to have that easy back and forth they discovered at the cafe. Tsubasa tells Momoka and Aya about all of it, and Momoka responds to each update with escalating enthusiasm. Have you held hands yet? Have you hugged? Have you... Tsubasa tells her firmly she has not done any of those things. Aya points out quietly that maybe that's exactly why it seems to be working. They're going at his pace. That matters. Back on Keide's side, the next challenge presents itself immediately. The first real date. A day off, out of uniform, somewhere that isn't a park bench or a school perimeter. Asahi wants to come and supervise. The answer is no. Izumi suggests keeping it simple. Mitsuki shows up and starts talking about what couples normally do on dates with such specific and inappropriate detail that Izumi physically removes him from the room. Kaede isn't even sure what was said. Izumi just tells him flatly, "Don't worry about what he said, because none of that is normal." So it's the movies. Kaede lands on the movies because they've been in his head all along. Somewhere dark and quiet and parallel, where two people can be together without having to maintain constant conversation. His friends accept this as reasonable. Izumi hands back his notes. Asahi wishes him luck, like he's heading into combat. Kaede spends the evening trying to convince himself this will be fine, that he has no reason to be nervous, that he's met this girl multiple times already, and it's always been okay. The morning of the date, he arrives at the meeting spot to find her already there. 10 minutes early, in casual clothes, smiling. He immediately has to stand completely still and wait for his brain to reboot. She's wearing a plaid skirt, and she looks soft and real in a way that uniforms somehow obscure, and he is staring. He is definitely staring. She notices and tilts her head, a small question mark on her face. He manages good morning in 3 separate syllables. They walk through the city side by side, talking about the movie lineup, talking about nothing, talking the way they've been talking over text, but now with the added dimension of actually being next to each other. And Kaede realizes with a slow dawning surprise, he's not braced for anything right now. The tension he carried out of the house this morning, the spiral he'd been quietly managing, it's just gone. She's laughing at something. He's laughing back. He spent all of last night afraid he wouldn't enjoy himself, and he's already enjoying himself. She reaches over, slow and deliberate, no grab, no surprise. Just her hand drifting toward his and her fingers threading through. She says she's still a little afraid to do this. But nothing bad happened at the cafe when she touched him. And more than anything, she can actually feel that she wants to. Kaede looks down at their hands. He looks up at the sky. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't freeze. He doesn't need to brace against anything. He can feel it too. That he wants this. That it feels right. That something he thought might never be available to him is just quietly, gently happening. And that's where this chapter ends. 2 people walking into an ordinary afternoon, fingers linked together, both carrying histories the other doesn't fully know yet, and choosing right now to keep moving anyway. Cade spent 3 years waiting to feel like a normal person. He doesn't know yet if normal is what this is, but it's real. And real, he's starting to think, might actually be better.